system which promotes and enhances agro-ecosystem health, including biodiversity, biological cycles, and soil biological activity. Now, this emphasizes the use of management practices in preference to the use of off-farm inputs, take into account that regional conditions require locally adapted systems. This is accomplished by using, where possible, agronomic, biological, and mechanical methods, as opposed to using synthetic materials to fulfill any specific function within the system. Now, on September 28th, the Honorable Vincent Bamlanga Sempija, Minister for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, has rather officially launched the National Organic Agriculture Policy, which was approved on the 29th of July 2019. Now, the National Organic Agriculture Policy is a unique policy that intends to enable the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to regulate, coordinate and harmonize the efforts towards harnessing Uganda's competitiveness. This will be through organic agriculture. Now, this policy formulation process was made possible by collaboration between the Ministry of Agriculture, the Development Partners Working Group representatives. We had the National Organic Agriculture Movement of Uganda, Participatory Ecological Land Use Management, and the Advocacy Coalition for Sustainable Agriculture. That said, as citizens, we ought to know what the policy is all about and what are the next steps after its launch. To bring this home, I'm joined by Mr. Rwakuba Alex, a Commissioner, Crop Production from the Ministry of Agriculture, Josephine Akia Luyimbas, Mrs., the Head of Programs at Pemba Uganda, and Mr. Nyanzi Samuel, the Executive Director, Rural Community Development. And those online, the hashtag is NOAP 2019. Good afternoon. It's an honor to have you. Such a long introduction of the policy. It's very gratifying to be with you, especially Mr. Rwakuba. You started to craft or to push for this 16 years ago. What does this mean to you the day it was signed? What was the moment for you?
If I may be, dear viewers, and thanks, Andrew. If I may be sincere to you and the public,
yes,
I think I was the happiest.
Okay.
And if I'm to say it again, I still feel highly that this policy was approved after a protracted war. If I may put it in that context, this was a protracted technical war.
For 16 years?
For 16 years.
What kept you
back
going?
To forth movement.
What kept you going?
It was the determination.
Okay.
First associated with organic agriculture in 1994 when I undertook a comprehensive organic farming course at the Kenya Institute of Organic Farming, and that was in Nairobi, 1994. It was comprehensive because it combined both theory and practice course. So from there, I had the zeal to implement organic agriculture in Uganda. I tried in 1995 at Namalere using personal money.
Wow.
I was let down by my superiors there, my supervisors, because they thought that then I had brought a lot of wisdom because I was young and energetic and enthusiastic.
You had a drive to have this work.
Yes, I wanted to do everything possible. And then, in a way, I was frustrated because they thought that I had gone there to either steal the land or to disrespect them.
There are a lot of insecurities there.
Exactly. But for me, I went in there and I saw opportunities there. There was land, there was a dam, and the staff, first of all, were redundant there. And I had staff with me, around me and under me. So I mobilized this staff. Using my personal money, we had the farm machinery company with a lot of these bush clearing machines, the bush clearing unit and the machines at Namarere. So I wanted to exploit these opportunities and practice organic farming at Namarere. But I was frustrated using personal money to buy the fuel and also the staff. There was one staff who was actually sickly. The husband had passed on,
So,
and then she was left there with children, and she could not take care of the children. So I said, well, if I engage these as an additional source of income,
yeah.
well, I think it can support us,
Oh, yeah.
including herself.
Mm.
Well, I went ahead and established the demonstrations using vegetables, and I allowed this lady to sell the vegetables, and I allowed her even to take the money
Wow.
to help herself. She's passed on, but for
There
me,
was
I think
there was
I
impact. 16 years later,
16
the
years.
policy was passed. I can imagine when the news reached your ears and it's like it has been approved. I can imagine the 16 years. The way you feel is the way we would feel when you're actually part of it. Welcome, Josephine, Mrs. Luyimbazi. It's an honor to have you here. And Mr. Nyanzi, I'm so gratified to have you here. You're dealing with the rural development community, and I love Abantu Awansi. That's what I stand for. So, Mr. Rakuba, now fast forward. What is this policy about? Because yes, they approved it, but as Ugandans, we could not be in position to understand the nitty-gritty of the policy.
Thank you, Andrew, and their viewers. As you know, what government policy is, or institutional policy, a policy is a statement of intent. It is a direction. It is a document with strategic objectives and specified strategic interventions. Now, the organic agriculture policy, like those other policies I've described, was formulated to give direction to the organic agriculture subsector in Uganda. It is a policy that has been formulated mainly to harness the country's organic agriculture potential in order for us to ensure that we have a regulated subsector which can contribute to national development, which can enable us to harness the global organic agriculture market, which is available. And currently it stands at 100 billion United States dollars.
Wow.
So this is one policy, government document, government platform to attract investments in organic agriculture, attractive production, processing, value addition, and even marketing within Uganda, but also outside Uganda.
Outside Uganda.
So it is a roadmap, if you like. It's a platform which has been established by government of Uganda to attract investments, to attract employment in the subsector,
Okay.
in the production system
Of agriculture.
organic.
Okay. Organic agriculture.
Organic agriculture.
Absolutely. Mrs. Luyimbazi, Josephine, you as Pelham, with all the years, you're celebrating 25 years very soon. And Uganda seems to be, the Ugandan chapter of Pelham seems to be more active than any other around the region. I commend you on that, but what does this mean to you? Because you've spent all these 25 years engaging the farmers, engaging different stakeholders. What does this mean to you?
Thank you so much, Andrew, and good evening, viewers. It's such an honor to be here, part of this elegant panel, discussing issues on organic agriculture. Just like you've rightly said, Pelham Uganda, in partnership with all other Pelham associations, we are 12 in total, and we shall be celebrating 25 years of existence. And basically what we've been doing is sustainably empowering our communities and smallholder farmers to make sure that they have a sustainable natural resource or a sustainable environment. And what this policy means to us, just like Mr. Rokwa has said, the work that the smallholder farmers are doing and our member organizations, since we are a consortium, is basically around issues of organic agriculture. Now, what they do is production, is marketing at different levels, domestic, regional, and international levels. So having a document that is guiding the implementation of all their work is a plus for us. That means that the sector is well coordinated. It has a guiding document, just like other subsectors, So for us, we celebrate and we jubilate.
Okay.
You asked a question, what does this mean for us as an institution, for us as member organizations, and for us as smallholder farmers? What it basically means is we now have the potential to continue doing what we've been doing best, which is organic agriculture production, at another level.
Okay.
Mr. Rako, when he was making a submission, he said that we have a huge potential to produce the volumes, to be able to harness that market that is there, and we need a consolidated effort. So the smallholder farmers have to be gathered for them to be able to reach that level. And this policy comes in to give us clear guidelines in issues of certification, in issues of marketing, in issues of production and productivity, in aspects of indigenous knowledge, in aspects of research, which has already been neglected when it comes to the public sector. And we look forward that this policy is going to give those guidelines to those other sectors, because this is a private-public partnership that we're venturing into. So we are very optimistic now that we have a guiding document. We are prepared. We have all the support that has been rallied from our member organization and smallholder farmers to be able to fulfill the objective of the policy.
Absolutely. That is Mrs. Luyimbazi Josephine Akie from Pemba Uganda. They're dealing more with the smallholder farmers. Coming to you, Mr. Nyanzi, rural community development.
Yes, please.
That means that is so dear to me, because all of us, as much as we're in the urban centers or peri-urban centers, we all come from the rural community development. What does this mean to you?
First of all, thank you, Andrew, for hosting me. And I'm very grateful to be here, all the way from Mitiana.
Oh.
So I come from the village.
Yeah.
So it's a big opportunity for me to be here,
Oh, yes.
to really share my experiences.
You're representing your people.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm one of the luckiest people that I think I've been around since this policy was started to be actually even thought about. Because I remember I was one of the persons who attended the first workshop together with the Mr. Rakwa, trying to actually see we need a policy, trying to discuss with the technocrats about the policy. And all that time I've been really following, but also I'm lucky that I'm the chairman of NOGAM. I'm the chairman of the Organic Movement of Uganda. So this policy means a lot to me, first of all, as somebody who is working with the rural communities, but also as somebody who is actually leading the organic sector in this country. So I'm really excited. We are very, very excited. First of all, as somebody who is working with rural communities, organic farming, organic agriculture is not, I would say, is not really popular as far as academician is concerned, which means our rural farmers, even if they wanted really to do organic agriculture, there is no technical knowledge in the communities. But when you look at this policy, it gives us light that now we are going to have technocrats. The education institutions are going to start producing people who actually have the knowledge and skills which can be imparted to the farmers. But also the students of agriculture in learning institutions, they are going to get this knowledge, the skills. When they go back to their communities, they will be able to impart these skills to the people out there. And that's very, very critical for me, because what I know, our farmers must actually get the knowledge, and they can get this knowledge through the technocrats, through the extension workers, and this policy is actually looking at that very, very critically. Then something which actually makes me very much excited is the regulation which will come. For example, when you look at the organic production, if you're an organic producer, then your farm must be isolated. Your farm must be made in such a way that there are no contamination from your farmers. But once the policy is there, we know the government will be able to actually put in place regulations. So there will be some regulations and protection from some of the organic farmers. You already know some people in the north, they were growing organic cotton. They were growing organic simsim. But then one day there was
a disruption.
A disruption when they started spraying, and that simple spraying of mosquitoes actually destabilized the market in the north, and we lost a lot of market. And I think that's one of the reasons why our foreign earnings from organic has gone down. But when there is actually the policy can regulate and can see how do we deal with these farmers in the north. So the organic policy, I think, is going to benefit our farmers very, very much.
I really look at you from the triumphant mode, and you're very excited about this. But I would like to tap into your experience with the local farmers when this policy was just starting to be formulated 16 years ago. You attended the first workshop, and you went back to your community, and when you shared this information with them, what were their reservations, or what could have triggered the excitement? Did they have hope that it could come to light?
Yeah, you see, as farmers, when you go and you start discussing with them or you tell them, they believe in us. So everybody was excited. Why? First of all, because they knew that if the policy is actually passed and regulation put in place, their produce will be protected and they'll be able to access market. You see, these farmers, they are growing their crops organically because, first of all, they want to get the money. I think that's the first.
Where is the money?
Where's the money?
Yes.
So if there is any regulation which is going to help these people actually safeguard their production so that they can access the market, and that makes them so much excited. But also, they are looking at the way the environment is being degraded. They say, okay, the organic policy is going to help us. Because the way some people don't understand that when people lose their crop because of harsh environment, they feel bad. They say, but you see, somebody came, just destroyed, cut all these trees, and today we are not getting any rains. So they say, okay, maybe if this policy is going to be regulating some of these people, because sometimes you see, the people who actually destroy environment, they are not the local communities, but they are the people who come from far. So they know the government has the power. So maybe to be able to regulate these people, so they will have good environment for their crops, good environment for their animals, and I think they were so excited about the policy, and they've been actually looking forward. When is this policy?
It is finally here. I want to commend people in Mityana for growing a lot of trees. That road has a lot of trees, and I think we're doing the right thing. Coming back to Mr. Lwakuba.
Yes.
With all this now in proportion, what are the key objectives of this policy? Because earlier on you alluded to what the policy is and how long it has taken you to be here. But we want to understand what are the objectives of it into deep analysis.
Well, the strategic objective, I may start from, well, the strategic objectives.
Yes.
The vision of this policy is that we would like to see a sustainable and a profitable organic agriculture subsector that promotes national competitiveness. That is the vision. We want to see a sustainable and profitable organic agriculture subsector for national competitiveness. We have a mission and we have a goal. The mission is actually to guide and support investments in the entire organic agriculture value chains for inclusiveness, for enhanced livelihoods, for production and environmental sustainability. And now the goal is mainly to harness the country's organic agriculture potential by ensuring a regulated subsector that contributes to national development. These are the strategic objectives, but we have specific objectives. For example, we would like to strengthen organic agriculture research and appropriate technology development, as well as utilization. The second one is we want to promote production, processing, and marketing of organic agriculture products. We want also to enhance appropriate post-harvest handling, processing, and value addition of organic agriculture products. But we want also to promote and support standards, certification, and accreditation. This is where there are issues. We need to support accreditation, so
especially in export.
so that our farmers can actually harness those regional, international, and international markets. Even national markets, we need to have adherence to some standards of one way or another. Adherence to some standards. Because there are people who think that since our parents have been really growing and farming organically, what is new? No, organic agriculture has standards, has regulations that you must adhere to, you must conform to. And that is what gives relevance to organic and the subject of organic. If you are adhering to some prescribed standards and regulations. And we want also to strengthen environment conservation, indigenous knowledge. For example, protection of our indigenous seed and planting materials. Those are the specific objectives so far. So in essence, it is about research, prioritizing research and strengthening research in organic agriculture, supporting increased production and productivity of organic agriculture. So we have the volumes for us to consume locally, regionally, but also internationally. We would like to support the processing, the post-harvest handling, the processing, the value addition, and create jobs even in the organic subsector. And then the conservation of natural resources and indigenous knowledge.
Okay.
Yes.
Coming to you, Mrs. Luyimbazi Josephine, he tapped on something to do with exports of the organic produce we have as a nation. Given that you deal a lot more with the clusters on the ground, have these farmers shared what could be their hindrances towards this kind of business? That is it the licensing that is in one way or the other sabotaging them to export? Is it the disorganization on ground? Is it the lack of confidence in the system of export? From your interactions with them, what were some of those pressure points?
Thank you so much, Andrew. There's a lot that the farmers talk about.
Please share.
And when it comes to issues of accessing markets, both at a local level, regional, but also the international level, which you're calling the export level. One biggest challenge that the farmers face is the inability to meet the volumes. But why aren't they able to meet the volumes? There's story behind it. Now, the story behind it begins right from the inputs. Where do they get the seed? If you look at what the farmers are getting as seed, most of them do not have the access to quality and timely seed. I would like to appreciate Operation Wealth Creation that is giving out seed. But there's also another debate in terms of the quality, in terms of the access, because most of this seed reaches either when the planting season is past or
it's too early.
It's too early. So there are those kind of dynamics. The other challenge that the farmers face, if at all they've gone ahead and produced, would be issues of pest and disease management. So this also in turn affects the volumes, because that will mean that the productivity will go low. If a farmer has planted an acre of maize and the anticipation is to harvest 10 bags, and then they have bollworms, then that means it's going to go low. So that will mean that if they had already contracted a buyer to buy, then there will be issues of not meeting the volumes. So that also needs to be addressed. We have issues on post-harvest handling. If they've gone ahead and been blessed with a huge harvest, for instance, how are they able to store this grain, for instance? and to make sure that the grain has been kept in conformity with the standards or the expectation of the consumer or the buyer. You'll find issues of aflatoxins, for instance, in the granules, which is very common here. Look at the very simple one that the conventional people do. After harvesting tomatoes, if you've been able to go to Nakasero, you see that the tomatoes are white.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean? That they spray on them after harvesting. And there's a notion that there's a myth that once these have been sprayed, then they will have a longer shelf life. Even in the organic sector, we have issues that come along the same thing. And this is mainly in terms of the access to very good storage facilities for them to be able to harvest in lump sum, for them to meet the required volumes. Now, the storage facilities in themselves are not available. Then we now go to the group dynamics. Most of the farmers are not organized in groups.
True.
Those that are organized in groups may not be able to meet the demand that is required. Now, when you go to accessing the actual market, there are issues of standards and certification that Mr. Rakba talked about.
Yeah.
For you to be able, for instance, to export in the European market, you have to be certified against a particular standard. In Uganda, we have the local market as UNBS. You cannot sell your products when you're not certified against UNBS. In the organic sector, we have the CLIMOHI, which is the East African Organic Product Standard. For you to be able to trade comfortably within the East African community, you have to be certified CLIMOHI. That also costs a lot for the smallholder farmer. And as you know, they are not able to afford that cost. Now, let alone the international certification, which means that you have to certify against a certain mark. We are grateful that in Uganda we have the Uganda UGOSAT, that is the Uganda Organic Certification, which helps in certifying and subsidizing the cost of certification. But even if they are subsidized, it's still expensive for a smallholder farmer. And these are some of the issues that the policy is talking about when you look at the policy area on organic certification and accreditation. So we are lobbying that and very optimistic that with the policy having been passed, that some of the European markets, some of the Japanese markets, some of the United States markets can be able to allow that the Uganda's mark, which is the UGOSAT mark, is accredited to their form of standard. So that way it becomes easy, because there are lots of costs therein. Ferrying an international certifier, for instance, from Ceres to come to Uganda in Mitiana to make sure that the internal control systems are in place, that these people are actually producing organic products, because organic is not a product, it's a system, right from the seed to when it reaches your plate, Andrew. It's that whole chain. So there are lots of issues in there that are not yet addressed. But with the policy, we are hopeful that all this will be addressed.
Well, that is a confirmation, rather conversation we're having, and on Twitter, on social media, the hashtag is NOAP 2019. Why 2019? Because the policy was signed in July 2019. Now we'll take a break and we'll be back shortly. Keep it here. We're live from Kampala's Renner Conference Center, Mandru Chamagan. We're having a conversation about the National Organic Agriculture Policy. And with me in studios, I have a Mr. Lwakuba Alex, who happens to be one of the great technocrats, I should say, our nation has. And he comes from the crop, they call it the crop production, from the Ministry of Agriculture. And then we have Mrs. Luyimbazi, Josephine Akie, from Pelham, Uganda chapter, and we have Mr. Nyanzi. Nyanzi happens to come from the Rural Community in Development, Mr. Samuel Nyanzi. Those online joining this conversation, we want to thank you so much, but there were a couple of issues that have been highlighted here. One runner, notching to say, is that I'm so grateful that this has come through, but what do we have to do? Then someone says, Mr. Alex, thanks for talking about the accreditation. It seems it's only for a few. There is a ceiling we can't penetrate through. So how do we go about the ceiling? All these are going to be answered. So this is about the policy, and those are people online, Mr. Luakuba Alex. But before you even answer them, what next? Now that we have the policy, everyone seems excited, from the rural to the support structure to the technocrats. What's next?
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrew, the pace setter, and it is interesting.
Indeed.
Well, what next? Government has established a substructure. What next is that investors, the public, you and me, those of you who are viewing, we are supposed now to establish the superstructure, if I may use that analogy of engineering. That an infrastructure has been established. Now we need to come and utilize the infrastructure. The infrastructure is there, the direction, and that is the policy.
Okay.
What next now? First, we want to disseminate this policy as widely as possible. And we need to do technical dissemination. Technical dissemination is when we get somewhere and we talk through what the policy is all about. Like we are doing, like we did on the 29th of September at Entebbe. So one, we have to multiply the policy document, this one, and the implementation, the associated implementation plan, because they go together.
Okay.
If we multiply, we have 1,000 that we started with to disseminate.
Okay.
Now we need to multiply more, and we give these to local governments. We have 135 districts. If each maybe takes about 20 copies, well and good. But we have even to cascade the dissemination to lower levels of local government.
Okay.
But even to practitioners, to civil society, NGOs, and even individual farmers, so that they understand the policy and we implement the policy together as stakeholders.
Okay.
So we have to multiply this policy and the implementation plan, and then go to 5. We are planning with our colleagues to at least organize technical disseminations at regional level to 5 different regions of the country. But as we do the dissemination, we want also to garner, to collect views that can inform the Organic Agriculture Bill. We shall come to that one later.
That is where we're going.
The Organic Agriculture Bill,
Yes.
So it will be a two-way. We disseminate the policy, but we also
get feedback.
solicit, we get feedback about what they would like us as government maybe to address as far as the Organic Agriculture Law Bill is concerned.
Okay. Each
So
one of
that
us has
is
a role to
what
play.
we have to do. And then another one is, of course, to engage the private sector, civil society, to invest and attract investors
In agriculture.
in organic agriculture. In organic agriculture.
Organic agriculture.
So those
that's
are
key
the
word.
follow-on steps.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That is from the technical government side.
Yes, from government.
Pemba Uganda chapter, what's next? Now that you've been dealing with all these clusters and small-scale farmers, now this policy is up in drive. So what next? What's your next step as a chapter?
Thank you so much, Andrew. As Pemba Uganda, we have a lot lined up. We are happy that the policy has been passed, but there's a lot more that has to be done. And I'll take it from where Mr. Rock was stopped. In terms of the dissemination. He's rightly said that this is going to be disseminated to local level, looking at the technocrats. And here it will be mainly the district officers that are there. But beyond the district, we have the extension workers, we have the smallholder farmers. We also have NGOs and CBOs at that level. They too need to have a harmonized understanding of the policy for them to be able to implement what is in the policy. So as Pemba Uganda and other civil society organizations, our main focus right now is on popularizing the policy and making simplified versions for my grandmother to be able to understand. So this can be in form of illustrations, this can be in form of infographics, something that is simple and interesting for the smallholder farmer to understand and discern and be able to implement. We are also partners, and so that means that we also need to be more vigorous in our fundraising to attract investment in the sector. As a civil society organization, we are mainly donor funded. So that means we also have to put our best flag in front in terms of marketing organic agriculture and being able to sell it to the development partners, that this is the hub of it. And we need to have many resources invested here. They're already running projects, but it would be good for us to have more, for them to be able to invest in issues of certification that are really a biggest issue here, issues of research, issues of harmonizing data on the organic sector. We are very many, and there's a lot of discoordinated data that needs to be harmonized, and having that kind of one-stop center.
Oh, yes.
So that as the media houses, when you come in to ask for what is the current figure
Oh, yes.
on the statistics of the volumes,
We
it's
know,
easy for you
it's
to
clear.
pick. Exactly. We also want to work with other sectors, with other players, like the private sector, looking at our partners that are in agro-dealing, for them to be able to produce organic inputs, to produce organic seed. What we have currently is conventional. It's not
Okay.
organic. So we need to address some of the challenges that came out when we were trying to collect views as we're making the policy. So we need to work closely with private sector for them to be able to invest also in this sector, be able to produce packaging materials, for instance, be able to produce affordable agro inputs. And also issues like the storage facilities that the farmers can be able to store their produce. But we also need to create awareness and buy-in, especially in the education sector. Organic agriculture is not one that is taught in our education system. Most of the formal systems have been so inclined on the conventional agriculture. And if you looked at the policy area, there's a whole policy area on streamlining and mainstreaming organic agriculture in the education curriculum. So we need to work closely. We need to start that marriage, that collaboration, for us to see that organic agriculture is inculcated as little as to my child who is still 1 year, to that person who is having a PhD in organic agriculture.
And we still have the same wavelength.
Exactly.
That is interesting. Mr. Samuel Nyanzi from the rural development community. Looking at this, previously you said they had their issues, they had trust issues, they were excited when they heard about the policy coming through. Now it's here. So what next for the rural development community?
Yeah, thank you very much. When you look at the policy, it offers opportunities for investment from the farmers themselves, but also other investors. I'll start with education sector. When you actually look at Uganda, we don't have institutions which are basically training people in organic agriculture. There is that opportunity that we need a lot of extension workers. We need a lot of researchers in organic. So there is a big opportunity for people to invest in putting up training institutions which are basically organic, and that's a huge opportunity. And as you see now, we have this COVID. Some institutions, maybe they think they are closing down, or there is a rebirth which is going to come out because there is this opportunity. Then when it comes to seed, as Mrs. Rimbas has said, seeds are produced by farmers. Now, organic seeds, people should grab that because the demand is there, the policy is there. So there is an opportunity to invest in seed production, organic seed production. What about inputs? Now people, they have been making inputs just as if they are making for their own small farms. Now it's an opportunity to actually produce agro inputs, bio fertilizers, bio crop protection, which can be on the market. And as you see, now we have an opportunity that government is going to bring in the regulation, but also seeing that the standards, maybe the government is put to emphasize research, so they are going to research on those biopesticides and biofertilizers. So there's a huge opportunity for people to invest in that.
But are your people ready to grab these opportunities? See, it's a juxtaposition. We could have the opportunities availed, but are they mentally ready? Have they been through these workshops? Do they have the drive to jump to this new wave that has come through? Or they're still inclined, or we still have a challenge with mindset shift from the conventional way to this new approach?
Maybe what I can say, I think our people, there's still a vacuum. Because if you could imagine, the use of fertilizer in this country is very, very low. Because maybe it's not readily available, but much of the inputs from organic, they can be made from locally available materials, which are already there. Now the government extension workers are going to start also preaching about organic farming, which means it's going to be very easy because the government now is going to start talking about organic. Civil society organizations are going to be talking about organic. And this is going to awaken. People are going to see this vacuum and they'll be able to actually invest in that. But also I think other people, they're going to see those opportunities from other countries. They're going to come here and invest in organic. And if they invest, it is also going to increase on the jobs.
On the jobs.
Yeah, because I think
the volumes.
so.
Mr. Rwakuba, you want to add on that?
Yes, let
Please.
me add something to that one. Yes, you know, this policy is like igniting a fire as far as investment in this subsector is concerned. We have factories, for example, Chike at Kakoge in Nakasongola district. This one has already been inaugurated or commissioned and is constructed to process dried fruits or fruit pulp. This is just one of them. Wow. We have 50 other companies that are dealing in organics and exporting, and we have even more. We have a company called Njakana Foods. These people have been processing banana juice and selling to the US. Organic juice and selling to the US. Now that the policy is here, it's going to open up many avenues
and
to be established. And we are seeing a lot of money coming into Uganda because of this policy here.
Mr. Rwakuba, as you're winding up because of time is not on the side.
But you had a question. I think I have
about
a balance.
About the organic agriculture bill.
Yes, organic agriculture bill, and then there is that some viewer who asked something about
the ceiling about exportation. That it seems to be like there is a clustered people who are only allowed to export.
Let me tell you, I have to, try and investigate more about that one, and interrogate that one further. But what I know is that for Uganda, as far as EU market is concerned, we do not have a quota. Okay. We do not have any quota. Access to the EU is open
to us
for horticulture, fresh and dried fruits or vegetables or horticulture. We have no quotas, so there is no ceiling.
Okay,
that one is a miss, maybe something new.
I think what was alluding to, it's something to do with accreditation.
No, accreditation and certification, that's the issue. We recognize the fact that that's one of the challenges that our investors in organic face. And in this policy, we are saying that as far as that area is concerned, we need to explore innovative mechanisms of bringing down the costs of certification. We are talking of innovative mechanisms like the participatory guarantee schemes, for example, and how this accreditation certification can be maybe subsidized, how we can incentivize some of these areas. That's what the policy talks to.
Okay, I think that gives hope.
Yes, that's what we are going to explore. Now, back to the other question.
Back to this organic agriculture bill.
Organic agriculture
it was initiated. What stage are we? What's the way forward?
Now, after the technical dissemination or the dissemination of this policy, and I've told you that as we do that, we are also going to simultaneously get feedback and information that can feed into the proposed bill. We are going to go through the processes of initiating a bill, those, that we are going to identify some facilitators. And first of all, we are going to identify the principles. We get the principles, and I will take the principles to top policy management. And once these are approved, we pursue approval from cabinet and then parliament. After the principles, then we go back and draft the bill itself proper. So we are going to go to that one later, after the dissemination of the policy.
Okay, that makes it much more exciting. As we're winding up, to you, Mrs. Luyimbazi, Josephine Ake, with all these in play, organic agriculture, how do we trickle it down to our children?
It begins with what is taught at school. If you've taken time to look at our education curriculum, both international and national, there is very little mention about agriculture. And if it's there, it's basically the basics of germination.
It's leisure talk.
Exactly. Germination and all that. But in terms of the differentiation of the different subsectors therein, it's not something that is purposed. So this means that the education sector, the Ministry of Education, the National Council of Higher Education has a huge role to play. This is the best time, this is the best opportunity that COVID has ever brought for us. For us to be able to appreciate the issues of food and nutrition, and for us to be able to appreciate those subsectors that have really contributed tremendously to fighting our immunity and boosting our nutrition during the COVID. And this is agriculture. And organic sector has been very instrumental in this. So we need to be able to streamline this and recognize it within our education curriculum, so that as early as nursery, kindergarten, a child is taught that you can grow this and you can grow it this way without applying synthetic chemicals, but using those agro inputs that are readily available. Cow dung manure, apply and it will enhance the fertility of the soil. So this has to begin right from there. But also, us as parents, we have a role to play. Because as they say, education begins at home. So what is it that we are telling our children? As opposed to watching TV, do we have small gardens? There's what we call the kitchen gardens. How many of us are even growing our vegetables at home? How many of us have even thought about the sack molds?
Oh, yes.
And just have one and then put as many vegetables as you can. Because if you go to, if you've interacted with these children, they'll tell you that they don't even know how cassava is grown. Where does it all begin? From you and I. We buy this in the supermarket, so the children think all this is in the supermarket. So we need to begin right at home before it even goes to the education curriculum, and organic agriculture is mainstream therein.
All right, Mr. Samuel Nyanzi, your last word to the farmers, especially those under your forum. What could be your last word in a minute?
Yeah, I think all organic farmers, I'm very excited that this is an opportunity which you have been given by government to see that the policy is here. We must take this, we must grab the opportunity, because what we have been crying for is finally here. We are able to go, we are going to actually have all what we have been crying for. And I can see, I think now the sky is the limit. What is very, very important, organic foods are going to enhance our health, and that's very, very important. As Madam Akia has been saying, it's very important when we eat healthy foods, we are going to be able to eliminate all those diseases.
All right, thank you so much. That is Mr. Samuel Nyanzi, who happens to come from the Rural Development for Community. And then we had Mrs. Luyimbazi, Josephine Ake from Pemba Uganda, that has dealt so greatly on the ground with the small-scale farmers. And of course, we had a technocrat, Mr. Wakuba Alex from the Crop Production Ministry of Agriculture. And I want to thank you personally for being steadfast about this bill, rather this policy from the 16 years. Thanks so much for staying firm. Those who have been a part of this conversation online, we want to appreciate you so much. Be a part of this conversation. If you're a farmer or someone who wants to get so engaged into this farm, please visit the website of the Ministry of Agriculture, get acquainted more with this information, and sooner or later you'll get to know what your role to play. But for now, me and you need to engage our children to appreciate agriculture, especially agriculture, organic produce. I'm Andrew Chamagiro. Good evening.